What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Pleasant Surprises favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Magic Square Tornado, which is their take on Vortext. In the Masterpiece scale, upsized from their Legends, their 4th of 5 for their upcoming Bruticus. This is for my own personal collection, I'm happy to report. And I'm also happy to report that right out of the box, I pretty much like this guy. Whether or not that holds up through the process is anybody's guess, but for right now, I'm liking. Which I haven't felt about Swindle nor Onslaught. I've kind of been cold on those. I was hot on Brawl, so to speak, and I'm hot on Vortex, so to speak. And no one's happier to report this than me. So let's go ahead and take a look at this guy, but in order to do so, we'll first take a look at accessories. So he comes with a blaster. Obviously the handle folds up, but you'll be surprised, it also flips down. There is a sculpted well enough, no paint, which is odd because most of this is painted. There is a peg in the handle, which will align to slots in the palm of the hand. And it will peg in, and then the fingers will wrap around, and it'll hold it just fine. As for alt mode, I'm gonna take this apart. I'm gonna close this up and set these to the side, and we'll go through it during transformation. He also comes with this huge parts forming piece, which is for Bruticus, obviously. You can see some of the hardware and stuff and how that's gonna work out. Got these wheels here. The head, we can go over movement real quick, up, down, left, right, little bit of a tight joint, but it freed up. Light up eyes, obviously. Unfortunately, if you don't have them lit, they're gonna look dead. That's a huge bummer. You can have eyes that look lit up even when you use electronics. Just look no further than Fans Toys Omega Supreme for an obvious example. And yeah, so we'll talk about this when we do the combine mode after blast off, but it comes with it. And we'll get in tight on the head sculpt for Dennis, and I think it's well done. Looks like the character. We got a little bit of sculpted detail in the vents in the side of the crest, as well as the little bump out square or rectangle inside of the forehead. Stuff like that goes a long way with me. It's also true to the character design, so that works. The head is on a hinged swivel, but you get all the way up. Can't ask for much more than that. A good bit down, enough, I think, and a swivel, no side to side, obviously, for a confused face. Look at this. Little extra details, just little subtle extra details sculpted in the figure to make it look visually interesting. Who could complain about such a thing? Well, I could give you a list of people that would, I think, or at least they would lie to themselves and assume so, but I'm not sure if they're being honest, and I'm certainly being honest when I say it's welcomed. So the shoulders, universal joints. They're just tensioned, but they're tensioned nicely. You get the 360 around, and you get 90 degrees out to the side. The construction of it does leave a little bit to be desired, right? So like it's supposed to sit like this in the chest. As you begin to manipulate the joint, this has a tendency to start coming undone. That's a bit of a bummer. But we do get paint. The arms are painted, the head is painted, the body's painted. This thing is covered in paint. It's glossy paint, but it's not the most glossy. I would prefer the metallic that like Fans Toys does and X-Transbots does, but that's not what we got here, and that doesn't change the fact that it is painted, right? We had this bump out thing here on the side with the black bit added to the top and the line work sculpted in. We have a bicep swivel. We have a double jointed elbow for a full run, which looks great. We have the guns here on the side. That looks good. A little bit of sculpted detail there with the rectangle there on the side. Not asking for the world, just a little bit. Wrist swivel, hinge outward, which is nice. Fingers are on a base ball peg, which is not optimal, but they have them so you can get them out to the side a bit. And you have a secondary hinge as well. And then the thumb is on a ball peg and then comes out to a secondary hinge also for pretty much fully articulated fingers. Not completely, but you should be able to get everything that you want out of them. Let's move on to the torso. Some nice sculpted detail with the two circles, the split line down the chest with the two rectangles down the side, little rectangles there on the side. So the windows add a little bit of visual interesting cues to the flank. We have a soft ratcheted waist swivel, over 90 degree ab crunch, which is a little crazy, but is fine. And then we have the pelvis, which we have a couple bump out rectangles, the blue paint added on, the windows motif carrying through. The hips, ratcheted universals. They're kind of inconsistent ratchets, to be fair. We'll back out now and look at the whole figure. And you get outside for the full Van Damme. You get forward and back for not quite the full Monty, but further in the front with this use of the swing down joint, which I'm actually not crazy about, to be honest with you. It always takes such manipulation to kind of get it sitting right again for robot mode. It just makes it a little less of a user-friendly process in my opinion, but it's there if you want it. Thigh swivel. Double jointed knee, one of those joints is ratcheted for pretty much the full run. I say we give it to them. Then we got the kind of black motif there hanging down over top of the gray. You have this bit, once again, I'm just going to point out a couple little things, right? So all of this is panel work in order to make the transformation work. We get that. But look at these little sculpted details in there. Just add something to the robot mode as well. I dig that. Windows on the side, that looks good. Wheels look good. Sticking out from the side. Fully painted and clean from the back. What more could you want? Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons and show them on my shelf, because it is my figure after all. Size comparison wise, there he is next to the MMC Vortex, and I'm thinking about doing a versus on these guys. And the MMC Vortex comes up to the shoulder line of the Magic Square. The MMC have sized themselves a bit smaller in general. And I have a lot to say here regarding the use of proportions and all that kind of stuff, but I'll save that for another day. I just wanted to give you a rough idea. And there you have it. Let's take a look at him with the other members of his team. And there he is with the rest of my Combaticons. And I'm sorry for the wiggle waggle there on the Steadicam, but you know, I'm anxious to get Blast off, man. Like, I'm anxious to, you know, heighten this shelf a little bit. I was never fully satisfied with what I had here, and I do think that it is better off for these Magic Square offerings, even with my criticisms of them. I think that we're better off. So, yeah, there they are. So let's go ahead and get this guy transformed. Before we do so, I do want to talk about these ankles. So I didn't go over them in transformation. There's no ankle tilt up or down. You do get a toe rocker that hides it and works well enough. All right, so let's just take these off, these side guns. I could have technically included this as an accessory, I guess, but it just seems like so much a part of the figure that I did not. Okay, make sure the arm is bent, which will allow you to get access to this panel here underneath. Rotate that down. Make sure the hand is in the shape of a fist. Spin it around. And then put it back in. Bring this piece around 180 and then take the forearm, bring it up on that double hinged elbow, plug it into the shoulder. We're going to do that one more again. So bend the elbow at 90 degrees. Bring the fist down. Rotate the fist 180. And let's go the other way. You don't have to get past that tab if you go the other way. All right, and then we're gonna rotate that back up, close it, rotate this around 180, bring this up, and plug it in to the shoulder. All right, then we can untab this backpack, bring this out. These pieces raise up. I'm trying to untab this whole collarbone section. And you gotta kind of tuck them in underneath so that they sit along the underside. You can swing them out to the side too. That'll give you a little bit of clearance there. All right. And then the head, I believe, just sits up against the back. You can bring these out and around. Okay, so we're gonna untab this and we're going to get access to these pieces, which will help us bring out and fold down and unfurl. You can keep going if you want, but it'll help you stay in line a little bit if you don't. And then these can actually come up and tab into the side here, and at the very least that helps you just get them out of the way. All right, the legs are pretty involved, but I think relatively intuitive. Of course, I say that, and then I'll make it look like chopped cheese. But let's give it a shot. So bring down the toe, and then spin the toe 180. We have to disconnect this side panel. That's what we're going to work on next, the side of this helicopter. Disconnect that. Bring this down. There's a piece inside. That will flip up. This piece will flip over and build the rest of the side of the helicopter there. And then spin this around so that it's facing the way that we need it to. All right, then there's a couple things we need to do in, so you can flip this piece open, and you can flip, where else? This piece open, and there's a couple things that we need to do. This piece here on the back is what we're looking for. So this little doorway here, that will open. Flip this up. Then this section will flip in, and then this section will flip down. And then this section here that sits in the inner thigh will open up, swing all the way against the thigh. There's one section of these two panels that has a tab. Flip that over, and that will actually tab into the inner thigh. It's a little hard for me to see, but which is nice because it helps you, makes your life a little easier in the sense that it keeps things lined up. You just gotta make sure that it's lined up, and I'm having a hard time seeing. It's just the color and the shadow of the lights. All right, that's not quite right, but we'll continue on for the sake of it. Okay, disconnect the toe from this whole armature here. That will slide back and around, which brings you to this section, which you can fold that little piece in and then fold that entire section down. And then the toe maneuvers around, and this is like one of those things where you just gotta kind of mess with it. Fold it in, maneuver it around until it fits in that cavity. And then that entire nose cone will swing down. This entire section will accordion up, and then there's a pretty robust gray tab that will also go into the thigh. And then this will come around, sit up against the side, and then there's two tabs that will tab into the side, and that is, oh, and it will also tab in underneath here. Just got to make sure it's all lined up properly. And that is one side pretty much done. So one good turn deserves another, as they say. Flip the foot down, flip the toe around, and separate this side panel. You can spin that around. As you do so, flip out these two additional sections and fold them down so that you can build the side of the faux helicopter. All right. And unplug this section of the foot here, which will give you the ability to unplug all of that. And all of this needs to come undone, so just keep wiggling until you can't wiggle anymore. I'm missing something here. You gotta get this piece up and over. This piece has gotta come out. Slides back on that panel. And that piece is already folded over. Bring this piece around. This piece sits up against the inner thigh. This piece swings over and tabs in. It's a little bit ornery there. I did get the other one. And then this piece flips open, that comes open, a small piece flips in, larger piece flips in. Nose cone comes down. As you do so, you can bring the foot back around and tuck that into the open cavity. And then we're just going to make sure that we've got this oriented properly. We're going to bring up the nose cone and accordion it towards the pelvis. That will peg in. All of these pieces will also peg in, including underneath here. And then you can peg all this in. Now before you do, take this little cannon here and insert that into the nose cone. And then you can collapse all that and get it all as smushed as possible. Now, you can start to connect the torso here into these panels. And this section will come up and around, 2 ports here, 2 tabs here on the side, and then a T-shaped port here that will connect to a T peg here in the front. And then just make sure you get it all cleaned up. All right, so we're not out of the woods quite yet. I think you have to turn his head around this way. I'm not entirely sure. We'll work it out. These pieces just unravel. There's a piece here at the bottom that flips down, and this wheel flips down. Same on this side. Piece at the bottom that flips down. This piece flips around. You can collapse these. They're on little sliders, the little tail parts. And then, let me do this. This comes up, and these arms need to tab into one another. So there's one. I don't know why it didn't collapse there. All right. And all right, like this. So there's a peg here that will be received on the other end, and then these pieces come up and grab a hold of this little like cross member there, and that part's a little tricky. All right, so that tabs in. Collapse the head, make sure all of that is as clean as possible. And then bring your tail around. Tab all of this in. Close these 2 pieces here. If you close this one first, I'm sorry. If you yeah, exactly. Close that one first, you'll be fine. And then close the one on the left. And then this comes down. And this comes down. This comes up. Separate your tail propeller. Tell that makes sense. Bring your bits from here, from the arm down to sort of cover up that hole. And extend your propeller blades. One, 2, 3, 4. And then make sure they meet in the shape of a T. And, oh, one last thing. So take your guns, and obviously I gotta make sure that I can get that. I'll clean that up off camera. And tab them into the side here. Some of this stuff, I don't know if they've completely allotted for the paint. But there's a peg, and they peg into the side. I'll mess with this a bit. There's one. That went a lot easier. I'll mess with this, but, you know, that's basically it. I'll clean it up. We'll take a look at it. And there it is. I think it looks good. We'll bring in Tiger Tracks as a comparison. So, sizable unit. And, yeah, propeller spins, rear propeller spins. This rear landing gear is a little short if I'm going to, you know, nitpick it. Like, it has a tendency to look like it should kind of be more so like this. But, otherwise, yeah. Tail fins look good. Front gun looks good. Windows paint. I wish I could have got more sculpted detail, more military-esque in the alt mode, but it doesn't really bother me because I'm not going to have it displayed in any sort of formation of alt mode. Not combined nor alt mode, so like all that stuff is hidden for me, but it would have come through in robot mode maybe too a bit. But yeah, that's my only real take on it. I think they did a great job. I think it looks exactly the way it's supposed to. I think it works. I think it works well. I think it operates. I think the process of getting there, while slightly intimidating in terms of the amount of stuff that moves, is relatively intuitive. So, yeah, I think it's a job well done. I think that they did a good job. I wish there was more sculpted detail in the military styling of the helicopter, but that's just me. Okay, so let's go to combine mode. Untab these arms. Bring these up. Get these out of your way. And we really just need to unlock here. So lift up this center section also. Unlock. Unlock. Just to free this space up. Once you've done so, you can take these side panels here, bring them out, rotate them around 180 degrees. You can split the legs. It's a little, you know, you spend so much time putting it together in alt mode that it's a little aggravating to have to like just take these little steps in order to get that gun out, but alas, you must. We'll close all that back up as we move through it. This top part here slides back, spins around. These sections rotate up. This flips back down. There's these two gray pegs that we utilize in alt mode. We got to connect them back for combine mode. And these sections come down. We're going to tab all of this in. And what am I missing here? No, there we go. Okay, and then we're going to flip these panels down. This is just aesthetic detailings for the combine mode, which I think is cool. And then unfortunately, I believe, I mean, we got to tab all that back in. I can do that off camera. But then unfortunately, I believe we just have to bring all of this back, tab all of this back in, just put this back together again, like the Humpty Dumpty. There's one. There's the other. And then bring these back, encapsulate that cross member again. And then also peg in at the shoulder. And then bring your engines back down. Take your guns here off on the side. And then I'll be honest with you, I'm not even 100% sure what to do here. Maybe just fold those up. So they're just sitting singularly. And then these, I believe, you have to rotate in also. And then this is the elbow. This might need to spin 180. And then fold these up. And then you can have these however you want them. And then I think that's pretty much it. I mean, there might be a couple more like minor things. We'll talk about that perhaps when we get to Bruticus. But I think that for our sake, we can sort of look at this now and have an opinion about it. I like that the transformation is kind of effortless going from one to the other. I'll show you a little size comparison with Tiger Track. So like, you know, sizable. You know, I think it's cool. Bicep swivel, elbow, serious bend in the elbow, double jointed elbow at that. You know, what's there to be upset about? I think they did a pretty good job, man. Let's move on to final thoughts. Final thoughts wise, we'll start with the negative. In terms of robot mode, I'm not crazy about the way that they do the hips with the swing down motions. I get that you get more of a forward range in utilizing them. I understand that. However, I think it's not conducive to the play pattern of the figure. Due to the build of Magic Square, little stuff, which they're getting better in my opinion, but little stuff still stands out, like when you manipulate the shoulders, parts of the chest start to come undone, all of those sorts of things. That's just, you know, they have to be mentioned as negatives. If I was getting nitpicky, I would prefer a different type of paint, but at least it's painted. I'm happy they did it. But robot mode, that's about all I got negative wise. As far as like the other stuff, like moving through transformations, there's some stuff where I feel like they didn't completely and fully allot for the amount of paint that's on this guy. So there's some agitation there along the way, but it is really like minute in comparison to the rest of the experience. And then if I had to nitpick one thing, I wish there was a little bit more kind of realistic vehicle mode sculpted into the alt mode, but I get why they didn't do it, the cartoon and blah, blah, blah. However, I think it would have made the thing look better overall. And that's all I got. Moving on to the positives, I mean, where do I begin? It's lathered in paint and looks better for it. Could look even better in my opinion, but still looks good for it. The articulation is top tier with the exception of bilified joints, but we get an ab crunch, double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, outward hinge on the wrist, fully articulated hands. Like they really gave it what they had. Has some extra sculpt work, which helped bring the figure to life and make it seem realistic and not like it was made in silly putty. The materials feel better than normal with them, which is to say they feel fine. Has a little bit of hardware, but even when they don't, the tension joints are tensioned well. Comes with the appropriate accessory. You know, what more do you want me to say? The transformation, while relatively intimidating due to the amount that's going on with it, it is relatively intuitive. Every piece kind of has to move just once, and then the movement from alt mode into combine mode, which is what a lot of people do, is relatively effortless, which always makes it a little bit more fun and pulls off an overall pleasant and pleasure of an experience. And I could really go for one after some of the stuff I've been looking at recently. So bravo to Magic Toys. This is one of my favorites alongside Brawl. I think they're 2 and 2, and I guess 2 and 2, and I'm hoping that it will eventually be 3 and 2. But I'm very, very happy with this guy. I've bought all 4, and he's one of the ones I am most happy with. So obviously a recommend from me. Hope that helps. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.